This is Tabletop Weekly, and we're the partners with Solarian Games.
I'm Jason.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you, Jason.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's see what's going on.
Uh-oh, what's
Why
going on?
can you not
Why
hear
can't I
me?
hear you now? Was it me? Did I do me? Hold on. Say something, Jason.
Okay, I'm saying something now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault, everybody. Sorry.
That's cool. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Yeah.
Do it
Okay,
live.
let's do this again.
All right.
This is Tabletop Weekly, and we're the partners of Solarian Games.
I am Jason.
I'm Peter. And this week's stories: Neon Lord's wrestling rules have been released. Goodman Games has a bundle of holding. New Dungeons and Dragons pinball game released. D&D slot machine announced. And tabletop role-playing games market report.
All right. Cool stuff this week. All right. So to kick us off, there is a backer kit, not a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding campaign that's been going on for a while, which is for Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland's latest supplement, Deities and Demi Bros, which is all around the god system of their game, which is based around wrestlers. So pro wrestlers are the gods of the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wastelands, and finally we get a chance to see more about them, who they are, etc., etc. And so for backers of this, and you can still be a backer. With the thing, I don't know, backer kit, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, they're all whatever. But this one, after it already funds, you can still get in on it. So I'm telling people about stuff that you can still get in on, even though it's over or funded or whatever. So they have released a PDF for backers only. This is a beta, but it's good. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I just got it today, but had a chance to read through the whole thing. This is the wrestling rules. And I was really looking forward to seeing this because I do have another pro wrestling RPG, which it's not on my shelf right now. It's down in the warehouse, but I've never played it, and I have never seen what pro wrestling rules would look like for an RPG. So really excited to see this, and I have it right here. Let's just take a little bit of a look. I don't know if I sent you the PDF. We can look at it together, or
You did. I got it up right now.
Okay, cool. So in this wrestling game, you are creating your wrestling persona. You get to create stuff like attitude and personality, background and history, stage presence. There's actually a lot here that is similar in spirit to some of the things that we're doing with our upcoming game, More Blood. So you've been raking More Blood as a arena-based game, right?
Yeah.
With an
Yes.
audience and everything. So maybe just explain kind of what the core idea of this audience with More Blood is.
All right. Yeah. So the audience, so it takes place in a future where they are allowed to kill each other and stuff in the ring. But the audience is everyday people who come and watch these games and watch the fighters go at one another, and they bet on it. They support their fighters, and basically every fighter has a sponsor, and the more people vote and engage with your fighter, the more the sponsorship makes money. The more in our case, their fighter makes money. And then this is what funds the fighters to keep going, fighting for their sponsorship for the company they work for. And the way this plays out in the game is it's the points you get. So the crazier stuff you do, the more you do things to excite the audience, the more they press that button to like say, yeah, he's great. And then the sponsors go, oh, cool, everybody's watching and they're going to buy our stuff. And so that's how it translates to the role-playing game in points. The points you're getting aren't just arbitrary. They're reflective of how much you're entertaining the audience and bringing money to the sponsors.
Right. And so anybody who has played More Blood at a convention with us will find some things here in the Deities and Demi Bros wrestling rules that will be familiar. And conversely, if they end up playing that and come over to More Blood. The rules are not the same because obviously we've created them independently, but there's some really cool stuff that is kind of a little bit of, what's the word for it? When you have convergent evolution, I think is the word. So in the beta wrestling rules, you have a signature catchphrase table. So your wrestler gets a catchphrase that they can roll on, things like, "This is where the magic happens. I'll show you the ropes." These kind of cool things. "Buckle up, Buttercup. This is going to be legendary." Excellent catchphrases.
Right.
And then you can do things. You can create your promo videos. You have reaction tables on that. And you even have a story arc. So you in this rule set, you choose whether you're going to be the heel or what's the other one? You probably know wrestling better than I do.
Oh my God. No, I know the term the heel. You're either the hero or the hero or
no, the face. Instead it's
face,
you're
right.
Face or you're the heel.
Heel, right.
And so you have to do different things that are going to get you the kind of crowd reactions that you want, as well as the victories. And so you can even have a story arc, like a hero's journey or betrayal and revenge, or any of those kind of things that wrestling fans will be familiar with. And some of the other things you can do, you can get the crowd's favor, and you ultimately are trying to get paid, right? So you actually, it's not too different because it's the same idea, gladiators and wrestling and all of that. So the basic rules, I won't get into too much detail here, but they're nice and simple. What I love about this is the beta rule set that they've put out. Pretty much you can figure it out in a few minutes. You've got your basic phases of initiative, a movement, a tie-up phase, a melee, and then maybe a pin. And then you just kind of do it all over again. And in there you can do punches, chops, kicks, elbow strikes, knee strikes, headbutts, backdrops, body slams, suplexes, arm drags. You can get them with a reversal. And then ultimately you're trying to get them down to either pin them or to I don't know the other ways to win. I mean, pinning for sure, but
pinning I think that's pretty much the only way to really win a wrestling match, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, exactly. So we got tons of power moves here that you can do, a whole ton of different results that can happen. Everything from equipment mishaps to the crowd booing. You could backfire your signature move. You could have adoration from the audience. You could do a precision strike, tactical awareness, tons of fun tables. It looks like it's going to be a blast. So this is the first time I've had a chance to see what the rules are going to be like for Neon Lords wrestling rules. And I think this is just going to be a huge favorite for people who like the game.
That's awesome. That really is. That's very cool. And it's amazing to me how much, like I love wrestling in concept. Like I don't actually watch wrestling. So when I was younger, I used to love all the stuff about wrestling and I love the personalities, but I never watched the actual like wrestling events. I would watch, I had a friend of mine who was really into it. I guess, so I would watch it with him but it was sort of like when you sit with your grandma and you watch, whatever show she liked, and you watch it because she liked it, right? You're not really watching it. You're just hanging out.
Yeah. But I mean, I think wrestling needs to be watched with a friend. It's probably, I mean, I don't think it's as much fun if you don't have a friend watching it with you.
So we would watch it. And, I got to tell you my favorite wrestler of all times was Rowdy Piper. I loved Piper. He was my favorite. And it was just because he was so obnoxious. It was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, and he had his Piper's Pit and
he was the one with the kilt?
Yeah, he was the one with the kilt, and he would do his Piper's Pit thing where people would come in and he would interview them. But every interview would turn into him interrupting the guy and fighting with him. And
yeah.
But yeah, he was the best. When he passed away, I was like, oh man, there goes a legend. So good. And he starred in that movie They Live, which was awesome.
Oh yeah. No, my favorite wrestler was and always will be The Undertaker.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool.
The Undertaker started up right around the time that I was doing Permission Magazine, the goth mag that I used to run. And we definitely spent a lot of time annoying goths by not taking ourselves seriously enough because we did pinups of The Undertaker in our goth magazine. Because we're like, hey, what's more goth than The Undertaker and Paul Bearer? Come on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a chance to meet Paul Bearer a few years ago before he passed, and it was a real treat. It was a real treat.
Yeah, I went when I was, I'm 13, 14, somewhere in there. They had WrestleMania in Baltimore, where I live. And my brother, who's not into wrestling either, He bought tickets because I was like 13 or whatever, and he bought tickets and he says, we're going to go to this. We're going to go to this wrestling thing because it's this phenomenon and you should at least see it once in your life. Right. So I went to a WrestleMania and it was really cool. And it was the old school. Now I know there's actually an older school, but this is pretty old school. They had like Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik and all of them.
Yeah.
And I know there's a whole generation or two before that even.
Oh, I mean, sure, you can go back really far to before it was even televised, but sure.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm talking about like there was the in the format it was in then and kind of where it is today even. There was like, I think one generation before that was still sort of the same, like TV and WWE. Back then it was WWF. But
the oldest generation I know would be Andre the Giant.
Oh, this one. Well, this is the generation before that. This is Dusty Rhodes and like all these other dudes and stuff. My grandmother, my grandmother used to watch it, and it was funny watching her watch that because she'd be like getting all like, get him, he's a little old woman. But no, this is cool. I would play this. I definitely, as a matter of fact, if I get a chance when we're at Total Con, if they're there running this, I will try and get in a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next up, now this is awesome. Like, we like Goodman games.
Sure.
Got a lot of friends that done stuff for Goodman games. James was one of the first ones to do something as an independent for Goodman games.
Yeah.
They have a bundle.
Fallen Empire was all DCC.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have a bundle of holding out right now, and it is a collection of 50 dungeons from Dungeon Crawl Classics, full of ideas, can be dropped into any fantasy role-playing game. They have two levels. So they have a low level, which is $19.95. That has 23, 24, 28 adventures. So it's got something called The Adventure Begins and Continues. That might be 2, actually. They have 10 intro modules, 10 modules for 3 to 6, and 4 dungeon crawl play ads. Now, what's that?
Play aids.
Play aids. What did I say?
You didn't play ads. I'm like, I guess you could have some
sorry.
ads.
I can't read. Play aids. And then they have, so I guess with bundle of holding, the more you buy into it, the higher the number or the lower the number. I'm not really sure how that works, but the higher level will change. As of this afternoon when I checked it, it was at $41.98 for the higher level collection. So you get the low level, and then you also get Castle White Rock, Gazetteer of the Known Realms, Saga of Dungeon Cult, that's 6 scenarios, Chronicle of the Fiend, 8 modules, 7 to 9th level, and 11 modules, 10th level and above. That is a magnificent bundle.
Now, is this something where if more people start getting it, they throw more stuff in? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the price. Well, that's my understanding. I'm not really super experienced with bundle holding, but
I don't know.
My understanding is that the price, that high level price, changes. Like maybe it goes down if more people fund it.
Okay, I'm not sure. As long as you get, if somebody funds after you and it goes down, I hope that everybody gets the deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works. But
I am a great deal no matter what. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. Even, I mean, like if I paid $42 for all that stuff, it's like 50 adventures basically. And the price went down, somebody got to, I would not be upset because I'd be happy with what I got for my money. $1 an adventure.
I do wish that when they did these things, they would also have a physical option because, it's great to get the PDFs, but if I'm going to buy in like that, I want to get physical things. I don't know if bundles of holding ever do that or not.
I don't think so. I think they're PDF only, but I shouldn't say anything because I don't know.
I think you're right. But I mean, just the logistics involved with trying to send out all of those physical ones, it would be a huge thing. You'd be better off just doing a crowdfunding if you're going to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a really good deal. I think people should take advantage of it. I mean, if you go to bundleofholding.com and look it up, there's a big long link. But honestly, if you just look it up, go to bundleofholding.com and go to Goodman Games, you'll see it. Or if you go to Goodman Games website, it's right on the front.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Okay.
All right. Hey, next up, we have got what's going on for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons.
What isn't going on?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things didn't go on, to tell you the truth. I got to be honest. I really think they dropped the ball. You know, yes, a lot of things happened in 2024 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of D&D, but it was all kind of scattershot. They never really nailed it. But it's over now. They did what they did, and some of the stuff that came out of that is now actually hitting the, I don't know, the streets, the shelves, the arcades. Are there arcades? I don't even know.
Yeah,
So,
arcades still exist. They're rare, but they're
yeah.
around.
So what we have now from Stern, which is, you know, the pinball company, we have a new Dungeons and Dragons pinball game that has just been released. It is called The Tyrant's Eye. And there are actually 3 different versions of the table. They're all the same pinball game, but there's a pro, a premium, and a limited. And I think what this kind of represents is that back in the day, if you're making a pinball game, if you're Bally or Stern or Williams or whomever, you're selling it to businesses, right?
Right.
People are
You're
going to
such an
put
arcade.
pinball in their bars, in their arcades, whatever, right? Now there's a lot of collectors who buy the pinball games at home. So even though the prices I'm about to say are high, I think these have probably sold a lot to individuals. So there is the Pro table, which you can get for $69.99, basically $7,000. There's the Premium table, which is $9,700. And then there is the limited edition table. Now, for the limited edition table, because D&D started in 1974, they took the 74 times 10, 740 tables were made of the limited edition. They have all sold out. If you didn't get one, you have to buy it from somebody who did. And they sold for $12,999 each. So,
wow.
yeah, but you know what? There are people out there buying brown box D&D zero edition D&D brown box and spending more than that on a box. So
Wow. Yeah.
there's some high rollers.
So hey, Jason, real quick before you go on, you had 2 slides in here. So there's this older looking one. Is this the original D&D game, or
Yes.
what is this?
Good call. So this here, what we're looking at, so this is actually surprisingly, I did all the research I could, and as far as I can tell, what they've just done with the new table, the Tyrant's Eye, is only the second pinball game that's ever been made for Dungeons and Dragons. I was shocked. The first one was all the way back in 1987. And this is one I was aware of because I have I've got an eBay saved search, whenever one of these comes up for sale, and they do maybe a couple times a year, and I can't afford them.
Right.
They go for a lot. They go
Right.
for, I think they usually go around like $6,000 or $7,000. I'm not paying that. But the original, I've only seen videos of it. I've never played it, but it's very well received. If you go into the pinball forums, there's a lot of great reviews of it. So the first Dungeons and Dragons pinball game in 1987 was pretty advanced for its time. So that's what we're looking at here. This was done by Bally, done with TSR, and you see the Larry Elmore art there on the back glass.
Right.
The really classic. I don't know what the name of that is, but that's kind of the iconic Larry Elmore piece. And it was a great pinball game. I would love to have it, but I got to tell you the truth. Now that I see what you can get for $7,000 brand new, the new one is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It does. It looks awesome. Now, if you're just listening to this, maybe check out the video at some point if you want to see this, or just look it up online. But it's really cool looking. Very, very cool looking.
So what we're looking at here is a let's see. So what we're looking at here, full-size pinball table, that sort of thing. I think the one that I have up on the screen, that you have up on the screen right now, is the limited edition. The only difference that I know of between the limited edition and the premiere is that they're different color on the artwork and stuff like that. They're basically the same idea. So on the back glass, that's that big thing that's at the back of a pinball table. It's usually just a piece of glass with some artwork on it that's got a backlight on it. Instead, they have a full video screen, and a lot of the action takes place on this video screen. And as you're playing this, so what you have, if you're playing the premiere table, there's an actual pop-up dungeon in the pinball table part itself. If you're playing the cheaper pro version, then it's all virtual. But there's a whole set of action going on the table, all kinds of different things you can be fighting, throwing the ball into. And as you're doing that, it's the video screen on the back that's leading you through an adventure.
Jesus.
So when you start playing, you can just walk up to the table and you can just play it like a traditional pinball game and just, play a game and you're done. Or they have an app. Of course they do, right?
Of course.
They have an app, but for once it's a good idea, because with this app, you can not just save your game, you can save your character, you can save treasure you find, inventory, the levels you go up. You basically can turn this into a campaign of
Oh my God.
of your own.
So it's Pinball, the role-playing game. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So you go up, you load
Very
your
cool.
character, or you start a new character, and you can pick from a paladin, a rogue, a cleric, or a wizard, and they each get different stories that are going on here. So as you're watching the screen, what'll happen is at certain moments, the pinball table will grab the ball and hold it for you so that you can make your choices. And there's a whole lot of different places you can go on the map, city adventures. There's a dungeon crawl. And by the way, all of this is voiced the whole time. There is a dungeon master speaking to you, and the dungeon master is voiced by Michael Dorn.
No, stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. That is
I
very, very cool.
Oh, it's amazing. I heard his voice. I'm like, is that Michael Dorn? And then I looked it up. Yeah, it's Michael Dorn is the dungeon master for you. And at one point, you can go through a dungeon crawl, and it is a procedurally generated dungeon. So this dungeon actually changes every Sunday. I guess it's internet connected, so they send a new dungeon map to it. So you can't just learn the dungeon. Every time you're going to get a different dungeon every week. And as you go through, you're picking, kind of where you're going, and you're encountering different monsters. It's actually based on how you hit things with the ball. It's actually going to roll the dice for you as you battle the monsters, and you can gather different magic items and weapons. So you can, for example, use some of them to do a ball save, or one of the ones that, this is what I think is so cool about this pinball table. You can also, if you find a shield, there is an action button on the top of the pinball table itself. So you got your two flippers on the sides and an action button on the top and the center. If you have a shield, when you hit that action button, when you're playing pinball and the flippers are down at the bottom and the ball goes right through the middle, you just can't do anything about it.
Yep.
It has a little bollard that pops up and blocks the ball from going through. You can control it yourself to save your ball.
Nice.
I love that innovation.
Nice.
So it's so many cool things. There's an actual red dragon sort of on the game that reacts. It's not just a programmed set of movements. It actually reacts to what your ball is doing, and you can fight against the dragon. And the one last thing that I'll say that is just one of my favorite things that happens on here is if you encounter a gelatinous cube at the top of the little track where you shoot the ball up. If you can see on the screen that we're looking at the pinball table, and
I can see it.
You can see a gelatinous cube on the table. That cube can capture your balls, with a magnet, right? And on the screen, you see the balls going into a gelatinous cube. It can capture up to 4 of them, so you can get a 4-ball multi-ball out of it.
Oh, Jesus.
I suck at pinball. I don't know if
I'm not good at it.
I probably wouldn't be able to take advantage of any of the cool stuff, because in the demo, they're like, hey, go up that ramp. And the guy just hits the ball. It goes exactly where he wants. I think there's a whole level of skill that is nowhere near where I'm at. But boy, is it cool to see.
Oh, yeah. I don't have, well, here's the thing. I never got good at it. I never got good at pinball or really any of the arcade video games for the most part, because, it cost quarters, right? I didn't have any money. I was broke as a kid. We were poor.
Yeah.
So I never had the money to get good at these games. I see people playing and they're really good, and you just see them stacking up quarters and be like, oh yeah, I wish I had all those quarters to play. But if I had one now, I might get good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nowhere to put a pinball table. I mean, well, we did just finish the Solarian workshop, so technically I do have somewhere to put one, but I'm not putting a pinball table in the workshop.
I hear you.
But yeah, I just love it. It's so cool to see the innovations that are happening with pinball. This is like nothing I've ever seen before.
So. Yeah, I've never even considered you being able to do anything like this with pinball, but now that you're saying it, it all makes sense. But again, I think it would have taken until about now to be able to do something like this because,
Yeah.
like being able to have interactive dungeons and app and all that stuff, you would need today's technology to make all that like possible. If they tried to do this 15 years ago, it would have failed miserably.
Oh yeah, completely. Because I mean, just how well it looks like they handled the integration with the phone. There's a
Right.
little near field communication thing on top of the NFC panel on top of there. So you just walk up. If you have the app open with your character loaded, you just hold the app, hold the phone over the pinball table, and it'll load your character.
Right.
That's
Right.
you couldn't have done that without some really good seamless technology to make it happen.
Yep. All right. Cool.
So
Well,
hey,
we have something that's similar.
yeah, moving from an
Oops.
incredibly cool way to integrate D&D with a physical game to maybe, I don't know, quite as cool as before. Uh, Another thing has been announced with another company. A D- I gotta not laugh when I say it. A Dungeons and Dragons slot machine.
You
A
can laugh.
Dungeons and Dragons digital slot machine. So this is a company called Games Global, and it is a digital slot machine called Dungeons and Dragons Tales of Riches. And it is all right. I had to kind of figure out what a digital slot machine was because in looking this up, I found out this wasn't the first time that Hasbro has licensed Dungeons and Dragons for a slot machine. The first time was not that long ago. Well, I guess it was 10 years ago, 2014. Konami did a Dungeons and Dragons slot machine called Enchanted Riches, and it's a real slot machine. There's a picture of it. I don't know if we have it to bring up or not, but I'm looking at a picture of it right now, and it's about 15 feet high, and it's got a huge Dungeons and Dragons attractor logo on the top of it, and
Yeah.
businessmen shaking hands around it. It's the kind of thing you go into a Las Vegas casino, you're going to see these everywhere, right? Um, I watched the video for that. It was, if you like slot machines, I get it. But this thing from Games Global isn't even that. A digital slot machine is just on a touch screen. That's all it is. You can go into a casino and they may have the touch screen there in the casino, like a big TV basically, and you go poke at it, and or you can play it online in certain places where that's allowed. They have said this is going to be the first of a multi-game collaboration. They haven't shown exactly what it's going to look like. We found a couple of graphics that look like they might be related to it. I'm looking at one of a dragon in front of a old style slot machine that it could just
Yep.
be AI. I don't know. But they have done over, or it says they own the rights to over 1,300 titles. Don't know how many of them they've actually done. But these are they partner up with, it says, almost 1,000 global casino brands, which
Hmm.
I don't know that there are 1,000 casino brands. I don't know what that means. But basically, it's exactly what you think. I've seen some of the graphics for other things they've done. I was looking at video of other virtual slot machines. I mean, they're tacky as hell. They've got horrible 3D kind of graphics that look like they belong on a jukebox from 1998. Uh,
Right.
they go bing, bing, bing. You lose all your money, and then you win a little bit. And when you're all done, you've lost more than you won. And I guess you feel good about it because you played slots. So that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I always say, you look at these buildings, these casinos, and how wonderful, how awesome they are. And you look at Las Vegas, a city that shouldn't be in that part of that
It
part of
shouldn't
the
even be
world,
able to exist. Yeah.
right? But it does, and you think, well, that's not the result of them giving me a lot of money.
Right. Exactly.
That is the result of them taking everybody's money. Like there are winners, but anyone who understands math at all knows that casinos are not there to
Well,
to
yeah, I
give
mean,
money out.
that's just math, but I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Right.
be the winner because I'm
You're going
lucky.
to be the one.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be the one. But
Mhm.
all right, to be fair though, there's been a ton of people typing furiously about it online, and they're all mad. They're like, "Oh, they're gonna, they're ruining the brand. They're doing all these kind of things." But I mean, unless you are the sort of person that hangs out in places where there are digital slot machines, you're never going to encounter this. It's not going to be corrupting the youth at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I mean, this happens all over the place. There are
Sure.
in terms of slot machines, it's pretty much licensed themes. It's where it's at. So there's Jurassic Park slot machines. There's Game of Thrones slot machines. There's Walking Dead slot machines. If it is a property that has a licensing department, they have either made a slot machine out of it or they've talked to somebody about doing it. So,
Keep your eye out for the Solarian slot machine.
If anybody wants to do the deal, we will take it. Give us money.
So Linda the Gamer says she said that yes there are, even Konami has a hand in the casino.
Yep.
Said she worked for a couple casinos, and it's wild to know how many companies are in casinos now.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's
I guess it's another way to use the word gaming. I don't know, but
right.
But I did see a quote as I was digging around from Mike Merles a few years back. I guess this was around 2014 or so, talking about the other slot machine, and he said, for when they do a licensing deal like that, they get enough money to cover, I don't remember what he said, if he said everyone's salaries for a year or a lot of people's salaries for a year, but these are the kind of things that we don't always see, these licensing deals that are kind of hiding around the background. And that's what enables them to be able to make the games that people want to get and not have to charge you $150 a book. So,
yeah. So I'm friends with a bunch of authors, and this one author I was talking to was talking to another more famous author, like somebody who was a little higher level. And he said that this author had a book that had been optioned for a movie for like 20 years, and they never made the movie, but it keeps getting optioned. Every time the option ran out, somebody else would buy the option, or that person would buy the option again. And he asked me, he said, aren't you frustrated that they've never made this movie? He's like, hell no. He's like, I don't have to do anything, and they keep just paying my, keep paying my mortgage every year. Every time they option that thing, he's like, that's just money in my pocket for nothing. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. He's like, and if you think about it, he's like, I've got like 3 or 4 books like that. And I was like, holy shit, this guy is just making all this money off of just something that he did. It's passive income, for people to secure the rights to maybe one day make a movie out of it.
It's bizarre the way the economy works. I just don't want to even try to understand it.
Yeah. All right. Well, here is our last. What's that?
Speaking of the economy.
Oh yeah. Here's our last story. So, normally we do just like gaming stuff. Every once in a while we hit the business end of it. And I think the business stuff is interesting, especially when you're talking about, where the industry is going and what it's going to look like in the future. And of course, this is crystal ball looking. Nobody knows for sure. No one ever knows for sure. The bottom could, bubble could pop and the bottom could drop out tomorrow. People be like, oh, gaming's dumb again or whatever. I don't know. You never know. But according to people who are smarter than me when it comes to finance, have said that the global tabletop role-playing market size was projected at US dollar 1.72 billion in 2023, and is anticipated to reach 4.71 billion by 2032. If you can see if you're watching, you can see on the screen, I have the layout of, from 2023 all the way up to 2032. That's the projection.
Number go up.
Yeah. And there's what they call a CAGR, which is a compound annual growth rate of 11.84, which means they predict that the market for tabletop role playing is going to increase by 11.84% every year until 2032. If this is correct, now don't take this advice from me. I'm not a financial expert. I don't know crap about finances. Okay. If I did, I would be rich, whatever. But according to this, if you could put money into the role-playing industry as a whole, invest in it as a whole, like maybe have like a mutual account that invests across all the role-playing companies, you would make close to 12% per year on your money, which I think the way that works, if I remember correctly, that's doubling your money every 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the number, but it sounds about right, because that's more or less kind of what you would expect if you were putting your money into what you should be doing for saving your money is putting it into an index fund, right? You know,
Mhm.
one where you're just betting on the whole market as a whole. Um, so what they're basically saying here is that whoever's made this prediction thinks that the tabletop. So is this tabletop role playing or tabletop
Yep.
games in general?
No, tabletop role playing,
Not even board games.
not board games. Well, it
Wow.
says TTRPG. It's
Okay,
they,
great. So whoever's done this is saying that they think that the tabletop role-playing game space is going to grow at the same rate as the S&P 500, basically.
yeah, basically, yep.
And RPG Sean here is saying, I would not take that bet. And
That's fair. I mean, yeah, right.
I kind of agree with you, Sean, but I think the tough thing about this is if we say the tabletop role-playing game industry in 2032, what will that mean? Because how will you even define it as
I know.
Wizards
Right.
puts more and more into digital experiences? And I think it would be really surprising if any major company was putting out physical books in 2032. I
Right.
think indie companies still will, but I
Right.
don't think that you're going to see a Hasbro selling you a physical game book in 2032.
And look, you have augmented reality, which has been the big promise forever, and it
Right.
just hasn't panned out yet. But that doesn't mean it won't. Next year, someone could. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Matter of fact, probably not next year, but who knows? Who knows? One year, at some point coming up, someone's going to have that major breakthrough. It's going to be the iPhone of augmented reality,
Yeah.
and everyone's going to have it and everyone's going to use it all the time, and you're not going to remember what life was like before you had these really cool glasses that let you overlay the digital world onto your real world, and
Right.
that's going to fundamentally change role playing. That's my prediction. It's going to literally change it on a fundamental level.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, right now Meta is showing off demos of their AR glasses, which they're still a prototype demo, so they're ugly and they're chunky and they're dumb looking, but the technology behind them is amazing. Mark, oh shoot, I forget his name. Is it Marquis Brown? Anyway, he's one of the best tech reviewers, and he
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to really look at them on, hands on. And it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a Google Glass 2.0. There's actually useful things being done with them. So you'll probably see something like that hit the market in a couple of years. And
Mm-hmm.
then if we're looking all the way out to 2032, which isn't 10 years, I just realized it's not 10 years. That's what,
7,
8 years? Yeah,
8,
7. Yeah, 7 years.
7. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, there's going to be things that we don't know about.
Right.
So yeah, no, I definitely would not rush out to try to find an index fund for TTRPGs and put money in it. I don't think that's a good bet, but I think it is realistic here that we're going to see more companies come up with ways to play what we call tabletop role playing games, and they're going to redefine what that means. So maybe we won't recognize it. Most in 7 years we'll recognize it, but in
Yeah, we
10
will.
years, maybe not in 10 or 15 years we won't.
Right.
But I do think that we've hit a place where the idea of a tabletop role playing game is now evergreen. There always will be something like that.
Yeah, it's like when board games became like an actual market thing. It wasn't just like there was like three that people in the world that and there wasn't just Go and chess and I don't know the couple of the other old school ones. Then you had that in the early 1900s you had Monopoly coming out and all
Sure.
these different games coming out, and then it was just basically it was a no return. Board gaming was a business that people could be in. You could have
Yeah.
entire companies that just did board games.
Well, and the thing is
Yeah.
that even though you would think if you just took the view of social progress or culture progress or what technology, that it's just a never ending, everybody wants a new thing, then you would think that a whole lot of things would be dead by now. That books would be dead, board games would be dead, vinyl records would be dead, all kinds of things would be dead. But what we've actually seen, because I do work a lot with market research folks in my day job, is that the latest generations that are starting to get spending power, so we're talking here not just Gen Z, but Gen Alpha as they start to get their 14-year-old jobs as well, um, they are looking for something authentic and different. So
Hmm.
yes, they're using all the digital stuff and they still live in a world where they expect AI to always be available to them and their iPhone to be attached to their eyeballs, but they also spend more time offline. You know,
Yeah.
I've mentioned I've been to punk shows where there's all ages crowds and there's not the only people holding up a phone are the old folks like me. Like nobody young is looking at their phones anymore.
Right.
They're making physical zines. They're making
Yeah.
cassette tapes. They're making indie RPGs and sticking up on itch.io and then sending them, to their friends that they've made
And
on
it's
a photocopier.
beautiful, thank God.
Yeah. So I
Right?
think it's the same thing. There's always going to be a place for the latest technology, and there's always going to be something for people who want a respite from it.
Right. Right.
So I do believe that we're going to see this market continue to grow, and I think it's going to look different when it gets there. I think the
Yeah.
idea of what a tabletop game is well, I hope it looks different. Otherwise we just all get bored.
Yeah. Yeah. And they said, according to this, if you're seeing on the screen here or whatever, it over half they project will be below 18 and
Hey,
nearly
people buying it, you mean?
below the age of
Okay.
18. And then from what it looks like, roughly 75% will be 35, up to 35. So
Yeah.
0 to 35. Um, I don't know if I totally buy that, but maybe, yeah, I guess.
Okay, and I'm making a completely uninformed statement here, but I would expect so we're looking at a pie chart that's got four segments: below 18, 18 to 35, 36 to 49, and over 50. It makes perfect sense that below 18 is going to be the lion's share because that's when you've got the time to play. The
Yeah, yeah.
most and you've actually got friends around you and all that. It's always been that way. 18 to 35 makes sense. I think mostly 18 to 25 is where I think most of it would be because you're
Yeah.
still in college or you're still single. And then there's going to be that portion where people start getting married, having kids, they're taking their job more seriously, they don't have time for the games. That's
Hmm.
probably always going to be the smallest segment. And then the next big segment will be once you're an empty nester, once you've got the time and the money again, then you get back into it. I think that's just a natural progression.
Yeah, I would take, if it was me, if I was making bets on this chart, and again, I don't have any kind of market research or whatever, I'm just guessing. I would increase the above 50 and take it away from the 36 to
Yeah.
49.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right.
Because that's, I mean, I know that's when I was the busiest, building my career, building my family. I mean, I still played and stuff, so I was a little bit of an outlier because I was able to do that. But I had to really make time for it. It was not easy, and I know a lot
Yeah.
of people who dropped out during that time. Like you said, somewhere around 25 ish until you get into your 40s, and then people start getting back into it.
Yeah. I mean, and if you are a marketer trying to think who am I going to sell to and what am I going to sell to them, it's a pretty simple breakdown, I think. When you look at the biggest group of gamers who are the youngest, they're going to buy a lot of stuff and it's not going to cost too much. They're going to be buying lots of low cost things. And when you
Right.
get to the over 50s, they're going to be buying probably less things, but they're going to be buying the big expensive stuff, like the kind of things you get from Beatles and Grimm, or
Right.
when Wizards puts out a $500 Tiamat or something.
Right. 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 Right.
So because they're the ones that are like, I'm sitting on all this money. What am I going to do with it all?
Or
Like,
when Goodman Games releases one of their door stops, it's like $100
yeah, yeah,
that are
exactly.
awesome. I mean, they're awesome, but they're like, like 2 inches thick.
So I hope this is a true prediction. I hope it comes true. You can't help thinking about things like the video game crash of 1980, whatever,
Hmm.
because video games were going to be here forever. And then for about 5 years, they were just gone.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, for all the whatever reasons were behind that. So, who knows? Something could happen that causes people just to not have the time or money or interest to play these kind of games anymore, and we just wouldn't know what it is.
Well, just, I mean, think about like the rebellious nature of next generation. It's like it's natural, right?
Yeah,
And we did it. So it's likely. I mean, it is likely that because nerd culture is so powerful and prominent right now, that the next generation, it's possible that they could rebel against it completely and go completely against the whole nerd culture thing, just because that's not cool. That's what my dad does.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Every
So,
generation wants to create their own stamp on the world, and so
right.
they may just go completely against it. You're right.
They might. They might. I mean, it might go back to like, you know, pinball might become, the
Who
great
knows, right?
big thing that people love. Pinball, bowling, and roller skating might be might be the things they go back to. Who knows?
We'll have to see. But this is an interesting look at where
Yeah.
things might go according to whomever it was you got this from.
It was, oh, some business. It was a business research sites. I don't know. It's something that came up, and I thought it looked like pretty relevant.
It's a really cool thing to hear, to think
Yeah.
about. So right
So
on.
that's why. Yeah.
Well, that's some news.
That's some news.
Show people some news.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's all I got for right now. Hey, we got a new year coming. One of the
Here.
things that
Here's
we're gonna be bringing on some more guests. Made a list of people that we know that going to start reaching out to and having more people come on. So it's just not us two morons talking. We got like some other perspectives from
Yeah, if
some other
anybody
folks.
has any guests they'd like to hear on the show, let us know.
Yeah. Because it's always fun to bring someone else to get their perspective. It won't change the show at all. Still do the show the same exact way. It's just have a third voice in there to, chime in.
Yep. All right.
But,
Oh, hey, one last thing. The Golden Fez Awards nominations are closed now. We're getting all the stuff out to the judges, and so we'll be updating people with news on how they can watch them when they happen at TotalCon. So.
right. We got to work that out, but tentatively, we'd like to live stream it basically the same way we're doing this show right now. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, I think with that, we can close it up for the week.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us a whole lot. Check out SolarianGames.com for the stuff that we make. Thanks for listening.
See you next week.
See ya.